Okay, I think we're back now. Anyway, yes, we do need it and we don't need it is the best practice, but doesn't necessarily mean that we have to write it. But for now, let's just answer with yes. How does mapping function works? It works specifically with mapping because yes, we needed to handle the nullable option. What does the 4 dots mean? I think it was just abbreviation. I'm not sure what abbreviation it was for though. We'll have to see that again. So that's the question. Optional information, I think we did. Yes, we need to make a post request. I think we did we finish the post request? I think we did. Sorry, the get request. So path variable to get the ID, this ID basically, from the URL, and then we connect it to the user service, and then here we did the user service. There are multiple ways to go around it, but in order for us to use the get email, which is the getter basically of the class, we need to map users first, or else just return null. And for the repository we didn't need anything, so everything so far so good. Let's run the app. And let's check here if it's working. Yes, everything seems so fine. So now for the post requests, get back to the app. Before we do the get request, let's just make the post request here. Since it gets reloaded every time, we don't have any input, so we make the post request, and then you check here, it's successful. Hibernate insert into user, and then if we wrote it even here also, it shows that it's insert. So that's one. Now we want to retrieve that information. I think I tried to get it just based on my understanding here. Let the users, wait, was the URL with users or user? Yes, users. I think you don't need anything else other than that to make the get request. So we have an error. Okay, that's the part that we will be needing to research. How to use Postman for API testing.
You are ready, and here you can call simple book in description box of API. It's updated here. Now we have one API called simple book API. I will give this in description box. So for request method, man, here we enter our API URL. So paste that URL here.
Wait, I think the issue is that we added user here. I think we should be adding just
here
ID.
And at the end we add /books. Now from this drop down we can select the method of our API. 90% time control add our
I want to see a similar get request to the one we have.
Then you can select save to preview data request API just open documentation type, and in this value field we write fiction. Now click on send and see we get this parameter in our URL.
Okay, let's ask ChatGPT about it. How do we make the URL for a post? It's not a post, it's a get request for our server through Java backend. The URL is to get the information of the user through ID. HTTP local host 8080 slash API slash users slash 1. Is the URL correct? Okay, that's what I thought. It's better to add the ID here. But how will... Yes. Spelling boot using add variable. But that makes it dynamic. If I want to get a specific request, how would that happen? Okay, this will automatically fine. Let's say for testing purposes, I want to check the information of ID equals 1. For your backend, we can add just user, yes, just one without the ID. The ID is the normal one, but for testing, it should be this one. Now it's 500 instead of 400. Postman, you can make a get and then add this. Nope. I want to check here because the first ever request that we did, it was here. I'm still not sure about the configuration file, but anyway, let's get back to here.
And in this value field, we write fiction. Now click on send button and see we get all books of this book info parameters in Postman. So I create a new request and give it a name fetching single book details.
Exactly.
Now I paste that base URL /books / book ID. And you see Postman add this parameter. Now here you can pass it.
So we should write it like this. I'm not sure about that. What's the difference between having in the URL or I think it was 2 dots and then the ID itself. Yes, it's better if we just add here ID and then yes, 2 dots, but after the slash. So we have the slash first. and 2 dots, then ID. Okay, so it mainly depends on the language, but in either case the path variables should be indicated here, but we don't have any path variables indicated.
Its value, let's say 2, and click on send.
Also, should I add to the path finder? What's it called? The path finder box. Controller. I think should we not mention that it's ID? I think we should. I mean, here it was mentioned, so, and get mapping we also have to specify that. Here it's mentioned with the slash because it's a path, and then here it's just for the variable. Okay, let's restart the project. Yeah, I also forgot to mention one thing. I should be doing a timer from now on. Anyway, now let's try again. So by writing ID it doesn't change anything. By writing 1, still the same issue. Require your itemplate variable for method parameter type long is not present. Then let's ask ChatGPT about the error. This is the error I get. This is expecting a path but isn't finding it in the request. Incorrect URL format request. You might be request that doesn't contain. Ensure you are sending a request in the correct format. I think I'm doing that. No man, let's check again. HTTP, localhost, API, users. Wait, did we have a v1? I think we did. Yes, we did have a v1. So this one is correct. Mismatch in the path variable name. If you are using ID in the URL mapping but your method signature isn't finding the parameter name, it could result in an error. No, I think we are doing good in that part. We have slash ID and then we also have ID here. If you are getting mapping or request mapping and such is not correctly defined, get mapping slash ID. I think that's also not the case. And then request mapping. We did it by get mapping, so no need for that. Check for the URL format. Ensure you are making the request to users not. Okay, we mentioned that part. We do it without the braces, but still get this error in Postman. No, I see no error. Unless I am bugging, which I don't think so. The rest control and the requesting part shouldn't be an issue. The issue should be starting from here. We do have get mapping, ID, but we are returning a string. What is the request I'm thinking of getting? It's probably a JSON file, so but wait, let's check here. We just want the email, not the entire. Yeah, if it's just the email, I think it's enough to have the string. And user by ID, optional, and it's present, user optional dot get. Nope, still no idea. How do I find the error that I am having? Spring Boot get request or ID. Let's check that one. This one is just for products. I want something with an ID. Post mapping, and it's specified here the folder. Okay, now I think we need to get back because he already did the ID one before. So where did he start with the post map? Yep. So here we will post a list of products. Then now we want to get a specific one. So nope. Get a single record ID. Yes, that's what we want. Optional employee, find by ID, yes. Actually, that's I have one question. When we send data back from the backend, for example, we want to return the user email. In what format do we send it as a string return in the controller class or a JSON format? So we should be returning it as a JSON format. And we still are using here response entity. So use that part as the email. String email, and then he assigned that to it. But in the return, if it's not null, map string, and then we have the responses in a hash map. Why specifically hash map? Okay, for now let's try that. Let's try to see if that will work to begin with or not. And then we also have the map from the hash map. So let's restart the project again. And let's do our post request again. Let me check the body. Yes. Everything good so far. Then we get here. Okay, how now do we do it from Postman? How do we use Postman to check this API if it is still working? Yes, and then we post this URL to this endpoint, send the request, inspect the let me check. We had the path variable on top. Yep, we did, and we did it by the ID also. Okay, let's check. Still an error. Gives me this. Says that there is an issue at the back end, but I have the exact code from here, except for this part at least. Okay, how about example 1, returning a single field email, and then here returning user object in JSON. Probably JSON is a better way, but response entity user. Okay, how about we just have the exact one here. Where is the controller? Yes. Let's just go back towards everything we did. And then commenting it, so that we later check what exactly did we do wrong. In this case it's user, so we call that. This is the controller, yes. I called it get user by ID. Because I think I was planning on giving the exact email. Let's create user. Where's the other method? Yes, it's here. So yes, 4 or 5 probably means that the issue we have is with the surface layer, which I doubt, but like I said, we'll comment everything, make a new one, and then compare. What? Now it's better instead of switching. So now we have here the logic, and it returns a string. Okay, what is that? Detail logging. I get this. Not this. I get an error for this line. It returns a string. Yes. What? I don't want to handle the exception right now. Anyway, since we said we will just be taking the same thing as this guy, so might as well. So that's for the controller class. As for the service, I'm still getting an error though. copying the same code, but it tells me that it's wrong. This line from your code is wrong. Not sure what that error mean also. Actually, let me just revise the code that he did. So he's making a try and catch. He's trying to get string email out of the get user by ID, but the get user by ID doesn't give a user back. It gives, yes, it returns a user. Okay, he keeps on giving me a different answer every time. So okay, this version, it gives a string. Okay, now to test that. Class interface an issue with the controller. Where exactly? Okay, so it was an extra brackets. Okay, now go to the post request. Now back to the get request. Okay, we got an error because we got this error. Wait, I don't have a constructor. Huh? Pretty sure we do have a constructor for the user. But he's talking about specific constructor. The default one. Okay. Let's try to send it again. Is it the same issue? Maybe I should also reload it here. Then we have to make another post request first. Now back to the get request. Okay, it's working. Okay, there was an error. Not having the default constructor for users. But why though? I need to first understand how the code was working and actually making the exceptions and getting the message help identify the problem way better, so I should probably start doing that more. So we made a response entity to be able to give back a complete HTTP request. Completely different. No, before we did void, so it wasn't that much of a difference. Then we have our try and catch here, and then that's the email. That's the only part that we did. And first we need to check if the email is null or not, and if it's not null, we will map the response in a hash map. Response.put email. Okay, response. I'm not sure about this part of the code yet. I know I specifically hash map. Why not something else? I mean, map understandable because it turns two values. But if I want to give the string only back of the email, we have a break because that was a lot actually to handle. Actually, go fill my water real quick. Give me a second. I'm back. Maybe I should check how other people at least make the post request or get request. Now that's the controller. He's doing a get mapping, get user request parameter. I'm not sure what that is. I don't see him doing any URLs. Completely different to ours. Yes, I want a specific video about the get request and an ID. Oh, I did specify that we need it for the ID. Yeah. You know, I'm not sure why ChatGPT is giving me a different answer than what everyone's doing. Because first of all, why did we get a map when we wanted to just get the email? Second of all, why the response entity? I still not sure. I understand what the response entity is, but why do we give it back as the response always? And I should probably start implementing try and catch more. Berk is about to be over. Maybe I should ask ChatGPT to do the other ones also, but I need to check why he did what he did just now with the response. So, first thing first, why did you use a map for for returning an email when we should just be returning an email? Yes, exactly, that's what I meant. It's unnecessary. If you are just returning the email as a simple string, more to return the email directly as part of the response entity. And how do we do that? So we always have a response entity with so that explains this part that seems complicated for no reason. String we'll be deleting all of this, and the response will be email. At least that's what I think. Yes, so respond.ok, and then you add whatever you want to add inside the request. For now, till we actually know what does the response entity, or more specifically, why does it need to be added in every command. And then else return not found dot build. That's new. Wait, what? We'll need to check on that also. And then here we have the return status dot body. Actually, let me just get the same thing from here and then check on it. So, but the ISO server will not be changed because it still returns on the string. Now that's one thing. The second thing, why is the return type of the method response entity? is to give a fine control over the HTTP response. You can control what HTTP status code is returned. Okay, you can return the actual data like email or the username. You can set custom HTTP headers if needed. And the response entity is a powerful wrapper around the response data that allows you to customize the response in terms of the status code, the body, and the header. I mean, so far we only did the body through the .ok method. Customize status code. If, for example, the user is not found, you might want to return not found rather than the default message. Yeah, fair enough. I was going to ask about this part. And then the header. Sometimes you want to add custom headers to the response, such as for authentication or caching purposes. Yes, we actually do need that. And then the header and then the body. Okay. So it basically gives us multiple ways to customize our response, and that's why we technically use it. And it is only a wrapper class inside whatever we actually want to give. So that's the main logic here. And then you have if null or not null, or if there is something wrong, if there is an exception. So yes, we have 3 available routes basically to that. If you don't use the Spring will automatic return a response with an object as a body by default, but in a simple case, however, you lose the ability to customize the code. Yes, so we need to know the customization here. We used it basically because of the null option. So if the email that we got was null, but let me check here. I thought we already solved that problem here. So yes, we already did solve that problem in the service. Why do we need to check if the email is null or not when we already did that in the service layer? Because that's make the controller have more code than it should have, because you get the data from the repository straight to the service, and in the service you start to check whether there was a null or not, but you don't check for the exception. So here, if it is present, you will return this. So here is the service layer. User repository dot find by ID, or else throw an exception. But that so we have 3 cases. We have the null, we have the exception, and then we have the result. Yes, in this case the server does not return instead throws an exception when it's not found. But not found and null are different, because null is still a value. Yes, so you need to have the, okay, that's how we divide it. Actually, let me draw it so that it can actually make more sense. So that's how it goes. So we have the controller layer, and we have the surface layer, and we also have the repository. When you take data from the repository, it can have three options. It can either be there, not there, or it can be null. In our case, null doesn't come as often, especially if you made it in the database that it cannot have null, but that's outside of this. But sometimes there is null. So the case of it being correct or wrong is handled in the service, and we can see that here. So the email, if not, throw exception, user was not found by this ID. And that's what I mean by wrong. Wrong here is basically found the ID, and the wrong here, we didn't find the ID, which is different from null. So in this case, if we got it, actually the correct one and the null one goes together because we haven't solved the issue. And then we have the wrong one, and that's why here we use the try catch. Actually no, we don't use the try and catch here because we don't solve that problem here. Here we just do the if else statement to check here's the if else. Just to check if we have this one or this one. I need to have more thickness with my brush. Yeah, that's better. But here, since we'll be dealing with the null, we say try and catch. So here is the null and not null, and here we say true or false, and that's why we have the throw exception here, because not finding it is an exception, and it being null can be transferred or translated later to exception. So that code here is clear. Now for the controller part here. Actually, let me just check on ChatGPT. Yes, we don't need the if else statement. So we remove this part, and we remove this part. There is no need to return this because it's already there. Let's have this here also. So here we check if it's actually let's start from here. If we have the user or we don't have the user. User not found with this ID, so the user is false. And here we check if there was an exception or not. Yes, that's an even better way that I was thinking about. There is no need to return an exception here, we can just return the null. Ah, my brain is getting fried. Wait, does the try and catch recognize null as an exception? I need to revisit the try and catch again. So we have the service layer here, gives whether it's true or false, but it apparently here it gives nope, I still need to think about this more, but my brain is already fried with the new information. Again, let's start from the beginning. Yes, we have two checks, one for the null or not, and that will be through the through the service. Yes, find by ID or else null. We did use the is present here, but what does is present mean? Does it mean like null or doesn't exist? Nope, my brain is not working at all right now. But I know that we have three cases that needs to be handled. Okay, let me just type what I have right now. We have three possible answers for the HTTP request. It can be false or can be false, correct, or null. How do we handle each of these paths? So now everything is working with our project from the GET request point of view. We just need to handle the possible exceptions. But just thinking about the GET request alone, that's the new part that we have, the path variable, and then the try and catch. The try and catch can be done here or at the other one, the other page, but both of these cases will be solved by one if else statement and try and catch. But which one is used where? I think it doesn't really matter as long as you have one of them. I mean, you can technically do all of them in the controller layer. I'm not sure, I'll have to check on that. Nope, that's not here, that's here. I think that's the last part that we need for the GET request that we have for specific users, because getting a request, it's the specific ID part, we already know how to do it now, but other than that it's really not that hard. I think I'll have to research more of this on my own tomorrow, no, probably today, and try to do everything from scratch again, because I think the most important requests are the get and post one, but the put and delete, if I already managed to do the first two, the other two shouldn't be as difficult. So I'll think yeah, I'll have to review it again on my own later and answer that part, so that we can do the entire project from start again without fumbling this time, because we fumbled a lot. But I think that will be it for the day, because I cannot think for some reason. My brain wheel just stopped working around this part, so I'll need to come to this after a huge rest. But we will see. So see you guys next time.